Watch this.
During the first 10 days of Donald Trump's second term as president, it's estimated the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency has arrested or detained more than 5,000 undocumented immigrants. It's been part of President Trump's pre-election pledge to do something about the border crisis, with the goal of deporting up to 1 million immigrants with criminal records.
We are going to start the largest mass deportation in the history of our country because we have no choice. It's not sustainable. And we are going to start with violent criminals, and we're going to start then with criminals.
Violent criminals. You heard him. We're going to start with violent criminals, he said. But then just 2 days ago, when NBC News reporter Peter Alexander asked about the nearly 1,200 arrested last Sunday, he pointed out almost half of them did not appear to have any prior criminal record besides being in this country. Someone asked if that priority has changed. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, in her first press briefing, answered this way.
He is focused on launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history of illegal criminals. And if you are an individual, a foreign national, who illegally enters the United States of America, you are, by definition, a criminal. And so, therefore, you are subject to deportation.
Okay, so yes, drug dealers, rapists, murderers, she went on, those who have committed heinous acts against Americans, those should be the priority of ICE, and they pretty much already have been. However, that doesn't mean the others are off the table, she said. And this might be a good time to point out. It is not a crime to be or live in this country as an undocumented immigrant. It's only a civil violation. It only becomes a crime if someone returns without permission after having already been deported. But this painting immigrants as criminals isn't just happening at the federal level. For the last couple of years, Idaho lawmakers have tried to get in on the immigration game, despite having no legal authority to do so.
We're going to be creating a new crime, and that new crime is going to be known as illegal entry. And first-time offenders of a crime will receive a misdemeanor, and then that will allow law enforcement to document them. We wanted to continue to bring that language consistent throughout the legislation to make sure that the crime in question is what we're dealing with here.
It will also create a new crime of unlawful presence of a dangerous illegal alien in the state of Idaho.
Well, a recent University of Idaho study puts the Gem State's undocumented immigrant population at about 35,000, although it's likely higher than that. As you can imagine, this increase in ICE activity across the country has many of those undocumented individuals in Idaho and their families fearful they could be next. Of course, for many of them, they've been living here for years already under that same fear. But as a couple of them told our Brenda Rodriguez, with the promise we'd protect their identities, it's just more amplified these days, and they say they feel misunderstood.
Que nosotros venimos a trabajar, no venimos a pedirle ayuda.
Ricardo's like many immigrants, pursuing a promise of a better life here in America, and many of them come here to Idaho. Like Ricardo, he's been here for 2 decades.
I'm born in this country, and I'm gonna be a good guy for this country, you know, and try to make everything good and always do the right thing.
Doing the right thing for him was leaving behind a life of struggle. This is Ricardo's son. He was born with medical complications, and without health insurance, he was left to have to pay for care out of pocket.
My son, he's born in he's got pneumonia, bronchopneumonia, all right? And we need to pay like $15,000, and I have 15 years old, 15. And we don't have that much money, you know, and my option is come to here and working hard. That's why we come here, you know.
I'm only 18 years old, and I'm just like looking my personality, my space on this world.
And for others like Natalia, who left Mexico 25 years ago at just 18, for her it was an opportunity for growth. She paved her own way by creating her own cleaning business that now employs Idahoans.
De limpieza, con todo lo que requiere la ley, con sus aseguranzas, con todo. Dando trabajo normalmente a 6, 8 personas.
It's a business that helps fill positions that employers consider hard to fill. It's also true for Idaho's largest industry, agriculture, which is in part staffed by undocumented workers.
We started working in the fields, And after this, I'm working in gardening, landscaping.
We talked about the agriculture and cleaning industries, but immigrants also help staff the restaurant industries. Ricardo has been working at a restaurant for 18 years. Immigration is complex. Undocumented Idahoans know that it's a risk being here in the United States. It's one they're willing to take, but it comes with a big price: fear.
Trabajo, casa. Trabajo, casa. That's it. No vamos a ningún lado. ¿Por qué? Porque tenemos miedo. No salimos a ningún lado por el miedo que hay.
Yo prefiero tener ese 50% seguro de estar aquí porque sé que he hecho las cosas correctas.
I will rescue every town across America that has been invaded and conquered.
Under the new Trump administration, that anxiety has deepened.
I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
Con la nueva administración que viene, ¿cómo se anda preparando usted y su familia?
Sí, estamos preparándonos. Por ejemplo, ahora me toca hablar con mis hijas y decirles: aquí están los papeles de la casa, de esto, del otro. Para mí es mucha incertidumbre y muchísima ansiedad, mucha ansiedad, el saber que mi familia va a ser destruida por las ideas de una persona.
Kind of scary for my parents, because it's like, you know, like they're my parents. Like without them, like I don't know what I would do.
And it's fear being passed down to their children. Ricardo has a 15-year-old daughter. Her name is Cynthia, and she was born here in the United States. And although she is a citizen, she still fears being separated from her family, because at the end of the day, being here in the United States is all she knows.
But I know that I have my parents who came here for me to have a better education and a better life. My parents have given me more than anything, and it's so sad that I can't do anything about what they're going through.
Do you have other classmates that might be undocumented?
Yeah.
Are they in fear?
Yeah. Like we talk about it, and it's just so hard that we have to live like that, knowing that our family is at risk.
And that risk is heightened by stereotypes. Do you pay taxes?
Yes.
Do you live off of government assistance?
No, yo nunca he agarrado cheques de gobierno, nunca.
Do you feel like you're stealing jobs?
No, like que le quite trabajo a otros? Sí. No, no, because whatever I do, because nobody wants to do it.
And in an America with divided views, children of undocumented parents hope that the country sees what they see.
Like, I'm sorry. My people aren't criminals. They just want to live. They just want to live a good life. And they don't see that. And it makes me upset, because like there's nothing that no one can do. No one can do anything about it.
Well, preparation is the big thing right now in that community, and you just heard a little bit of how they're preparing, but it just comes down to community. A lot of people in that community, they rely on neighbors because they have no immediate family members here. Okay. So they rely on them. They coordinate, hey, if something ever happens to me, can you take care of the children moving forward? And that's how they're preparing right now.
That's amazing. Okay, so I know we're going to get this message from a lot of people that look at this and say, well, they should be in fear. They're doing something they shouldn't be doing. They shouldn't be here, that kind of thing. The question that probably a lot of people have is, why not go through the legal channels, though, to make this legal?
Right. And it comes down to a couple things, right? Because we heard Ricardo talk about coming here because of money, right? He needed money, and it costs a lot of money to hire an attorney, go through all the process there. So that's a barrier there. Right. Misinformation, people just don't know where to start, how to start. And I think the biggest one is fear, because once you start through that process, you're scared that maybe you're gonna get a denial. And from that point, they're scared that they're gonna have that information on record. So fear is pretty much a big one.
Fear is the biggest thing. I can imagine that. Okay, so we're going to talk to an immigration attorney here just coming up in a couple of minutes. But just really quickly, I mean, this is obviously something that was pretty emotional there toward the end. This is impacting a lot of people. And I think a lot of people seeing this side of that, I mean, that's kind of what you're hoping that they see, right?
Yeah.
The human side of this?
Yes. At the end of the day, these are children that are being impacted as well. Yeah. American children.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Thank you very much, Brenda. Appreciate it. Okay, so broadening that fear that Brenda touched on for undocumented immigrants. Churches, hospitals, and schools, they're no longer off limits to ICE agents. On the day he took office, President Trump opened up those sensitive areas to raids, places that were protected for years and broadened under the Biden administration. And that has sparked concern across Idaho. So the question is, could we see agents removing kids from Idaho schools? Aspen Shumper was here, and you talked to a couple school districts and a local church about this.
Yeah, I did. And both the school districts and the church say they're trying to ease some of the anxiety around this announcement, reassuring their communities they are committed to offering safe and supported spaces. The superintendent of the American Falls School District, Randy Jensen, tells me there's a lot of misinformation and rumors being spread. He wants families in his districts to have reliable information. Over the weekend, he sent out this letter to families explaining the school district's role, telling parents exactly what the district will and won't do when it comes to immigration enforcement. Jensen says their job is to educate all students and says the district does not collect any information on students' immigration status. He asks families to update records so administrators know who to contact if ICE officials ask to talk to a student. The superintendent says the district's policy is to alert parents before any conversations happen.
And is the last thing we really want are agents coming into schools and taking kids out of schools. We just don't feel that's a good situation, even though we will support them if that's the law, and we will abide by the law. But that just probably is not a practice that really anyone wants to see happen.
Jensen says ICE cannot walk into schools without a judicial warrant. Now, a church is a little different, and ICE is allowed to go in anywhere in the church, and instead, when they go inside the actual church, but not offices or clergy spaces. For years, even this wasn't a worry for churches.
These spaces are sensitive, and they must remain so, because these are places where people go to seek the most important services and for their own spiritual health and well-being. And it is just unconscionable to me to think that our government thinks it would be okay for law enforcement to rush in whenever it chooses into these spaces that have had long histories of protecting the privacy and the sanctity of the people that they serve and the humanity of the people that they serve.
The Mexican consulate tells me they are developing an app that will serve as a resource guide for communities concerned about ICE enforcement. They say they are also working on an action plan. Now, Brian, we don't have much details on both of those yet. I know they are coming soon, so we're going to wait and look out for an announcement there.
All right. Thank you very much, Aspen. Okay, so joining us now is an immigration attorney by the name of J.J. Despain. We've spoken to you a couple of times before, J.J. Thank you again for coming in.
Yeah.
I want to ask you quickly about what Aspen was talking about. I'm sure you've been getting calls about, okay, what's not a safe space anymore when it comes to immigration?
Yeah, I mean, that was day one from President Trump, was saying there are really no sanctuary places. There's no level of safety, and really it's all up for grabs. I think individual offices are still going to kind of have their own way of doing things. We have heard from Twin Falls that they won't be going after people in certain places, but still, you know, everyone's on high alert.
Yeah, I can only imagine, though, since that first day in office, you've been getting a lot of phone calls about all of it, right? Have you seen an increase?
Definitely an increase from current clients who their cases were fine, but now they're doubting that. Other people who maybe haven't talked to an attorney before, but now feel like it's the time. So yeah, we're staying busy.
What kind of things are you hearing with these phone calls and emails?
I mean, I would often get questions before about what happens if I get picked up by ICE, but now I'm hearing my coworker got picked up the other day, or my cousin got picked up, and it's hitting home now already just in the past few days.
Okay. The other side of that is, when somebody has been in this country for that long, 15, 20 years, like we heard Brenda's story, is it too late to start this process?
It's definitely not too late. It's hard to know if you have a case until you talk to an attorney. Okay. And that's one of the main things I do, is just get the education out there, get the information out there. You don't know if you have a case until you check with someone, and a lot of people are surprised to find out, oh, I could have done this all along, let's do it now. And so, yeah, we're here to help.
What about the cost that Brenda talked about? That's one of the factors that says, I don't know if I can even afford to do this.
Yeah, there are a lot of options for that. We are a for-profit law firm, but there are various charities and nonprofits that can be available for anyone in that situation. Yeah, there's actually a lot of resources in Boise, so, and I'm happy to connect people even if someone can't hire an attorney. I know some pro bono nonprofit places that will help out. Okay, what are you telling people then when it comes to what's happening now? What can they do? Yeah, every case is a little bit different, but often it is, you know, I tell people on the phone, I'm just saying, I'm glad you talked to me. I'm glad you came to me. And even if I don't know a lot of options or certainty, I can at least give them a little bit of information. That's better than nothing.
Yeah. How long does this process take?
Well, it depends on the process, but like the most basic processes, I would say maybe about a year. And that's if you are lucky and have all the right qualifications. Other cases, more like 4 or 5 years. It just depends. There's no such thing as just, oh, all these people, they just need to apply for work permit and they'll get one. If they would, they would. If they could, they would.
Yeah.
The reason why they don't have these benefits is because it's hard to even know how to go about it or if it's even possible.
I can only imagine this is all new to you guys too, like this era that we're in now.
Yeah, I mean, I was an immigration attorney during the first administration, but there is something different about this time for sure. You know, just kind of a sense of tension that we didn't have before. So yeah, there's something different for sure.
All right, JJ, thank you very much for coming in today and kind of answering some of these questions we had. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be right back. Well, we had another potential parental choice tax credit printed at the State House today. Same sponsors as a week ago, but with a few more tweaks. I've lost count on how many this makes over the last 5 years, but just looking at the last two, well, Joe Paris points out some key differences.
This bill is more fair, transparent, accountable, and responsible.
The Idaho Parental Choice Tax Credit is getting updated. Representative Wendy Horman co-sponsors House Bill 93, which helps families pay for school choice options if they feel public school isn't serving their student. The bill's different from Horman in this group's first school choice bill, House Bill 39. The main changes include qualified instruction from a non-public school now specifically lists private schools, micro schools, or learning pods. Instruction needs to come from an accredited school or have a documented portfolio showing student requirements and learning growth are met in case of an audit. Those requirements come from an educational environment that, at minimum, must include language arts, math, science, and social studies. Some technical differences. The old bill provides a tax credit up to $5,000 total for a parent. The new one clarifies it's $5,000 for each eligible student. The new bill includes an accountability survey requiring parents to complete a satisfaction and engagement survey about their non-public school experience to be eligible for future credits. The draft gives the Legislative Services Office responsibility for sending the surveys and reporting results.
All right, well, let me know when this kind of starts to sound like dismantling of an Idaho public school system. Well, today, Representative Dale Hawkins introduced the idea of not requiring Idaho's children to be enrolled in school. Except here's the thing, they already don't have to. Still, that hasn't stopped Representative Hawkins from suggesting we change the state constitution, calling the 1890 document antiquated and invasive.
I was trying to imagine the thinking that was going on when it was written, and it seemed very foreign the more I read it. Very controlling, that a state would think the presumption to have control over children that don't belong to it. So
Representative Hawkins wants Article 9, Section 9 to say the right of the people to educate their children without government regulation outside of the public schools of the state shall not be infringed. But it pretty much already says that. Okay, walk through this with me. The legislature may require every child between 6 and 18 to attend public school unless educated by other means. That's Title 9, Section 9. Article 9, Section 9, excuse me. It says so right there, unless educated by other means. And the legislature didn't require school attendance by law until 1963. They did that with Chapter 2, Title 33. Kids between the ages of 7 and 16 shall be educated on subjects taught in Idaho's public schools. And to accomplish this, a parent or guardian shall either cause the child to be privately instructed or at the direction of their parent or guardian, or enroll them in a public or private school. See, it already says they can be homeschooled in Idaho. Once again, it begs the question, what are we trying to accomplish here at the legislature, other than basically removing the legislature's ability to require kids to be in school? Well, that's an answer we hope to hear if House Joint Resolution 1 gets a hearing in the House State Affairs Committee. Hey, guess what? We got some snow on the way. More for the mountains than in the valley, but still, those roads could be slick tomorrow morning, so be aware of that and tune in to Wake Up Idaho to get the latest on your forecast. All right, bear with us. We gave ourselves a little extra time for some comments today. We certainly got a lot of them. We're going to get to as many as we can. So this one from Sam to start us off. How are all the undocumented immigrants getting jobs? Is it not illegal for employers to hire undocumented immigrants? Yes, and they present documentation that says they are allowed to work here. All the employer has to do is put that through the system. If it checks out clear, then they're clear to hire them. And that's kind of what the argument is. That's where their extent of enforcement comes in as an employer. Here's my documents. You can hire me. We are hearing all the sad stories. Do they realize they entered the U.S. illegally? Yes, they do. That's the thing. It's a risk they're willing to take. In Caldwell said Kay. Trump pardoned 1,500 violent January 6 criminals with his signature. He could do the same for every undocumented immigrant with a job who pays taxes and spends billions in the U.S. tomorrow. But he won't, says Steve. Meanwhile, Shane says, if I hunt to feed my family on someone else's property without permission, am I not a criminal as well as an immigrant that did not go through the proper process? That is correct. Although, let's make this clear, it's not a crime. And we've got a couple of these today. Leave the undocumented workers alone. Let them come out in the open and process them. The focus should be on controlling new immigration at the borders. It can be done at a lower cost and with less stress for everyone, says Dave in Eagle. Now, this whole criminal thing, putting aside the fact that illegal immigration is illegal, it isn't a crime. It is a civil violation, as we mentioned, unless you've been deported and you come back without permission. Then it becomes a crime. But who's going to replace all these people in the ag industry, construction, landscaping industries after they are deported? How will this impact prices? What is the government's plan, asked David in Boise? And I don't know that that is able to quantify at this point. We just kind of have to see how it goes, of course. Go President Trump, doing what the American people voted him in for. Immigrants just need to go through legal channels and become citizens. And if it's too expensive, save money until you get enough. That way, American citizens won't have to foot the bill for them staying here illegally. I'm not sure what foot the bill means. As we heard, they're not dipping into any sort of government services to get there. It's so heartbreaking. These folks are hardworking, tax-paying parts of our community. Most are working jobs that nobody else wants to do, says Erica. It's kind of the point, right?
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.